Okay, good afternoon. And once again, I am here with David Burke, celebrity chef, cookbook author, philanthropist, and one of the leading pioneers in American cooking. Good afternoon, David. And how are you doing today?
Richard, how are you? Thank you.
Very
Thank
good.
for
You know,
having
we
me.
just had
Pretty good.
an off-camera discussion that it's been just over a year since I initially interviewed you when the pandemic began back in April, right?
Yeah, it's been a hell of a year. It's been
a heck of a year. So, how have your business enterprises fared over the past 12 months?
well, we've done okay in Jersey. Thank God. We had some stores in New Jersey. We opened a few more in New Jersey. The 25%, now 50%, allowed us to have some cash flow. So Jersey we did well in Jersey from a cash flow standpoint and be able to stay alive. New York City, on the other hand, we got crushed. We closed 4 places. They're still not open. And I don't see the energy in New York City, even though we're going to reopen at the end of the month. We're going to use our PPP money, and we're going to do our damnedest to try and generate some business. But we'll see what we can do. I remain optimistic, but not as much for New York City as I do for New Jersey. We also opened in Charlotte, and we also opened in Saudi Arabia a couple of days ago in Saudi Arabia. So we have 2 projects there. One will be open in 2 months. So I'll go out there in about 6 weeks. So we kind of diversified, and we pulled New York City is just I think it's going to take some time to get back on its feet.
Let's talk about the new projects you opened up here in New Jersey. You had one in East Brunswick, one in Belmar, one in Rumson, correct?
That's correct. During the pandemic, we did a pop-up in Asbury last summer, which was nice. It got us, we have the restaurant Seabright, David Burke Drift House, which is only a couple of miles from the famous fromagerie restaurant that I once owned. And now that's called Red Horse. We just reopened that 3 weeks ago. And we're doing great. We've got great reviews. Our business is strong. Because we were opening Red Horse, a steakhouse, and with an Asian twist, some Chinese dishes and some sushi upstairs. We hired a great chef for Drift House, Italian girl who used to work for me in New York City. And we've made Drift House more Mediterranean, pasta, seafood, etc. So that's doing great. That was a smart move on our part. We're opening Belmar Kitchen by David Burke tonight. We already opened a couple months back, about 3 months ago, in the brewery, Beach House Brewery. And that we opened the tap room or the beer garden. And that's been doing well. So the restaurant will open up tonight with reservations. And that's called Belmar Kitchen by David Burke. And we look forward to a very, very productive summer there. We also opened a beautiful restaurant in East Brunswick about 4.5 months ago in December, called Orchard Park by David Burke with the Murillos and Vito. And it's in East Brunswick, and I got to tell you, we're so proud of that place. It was built from scratch. The design is great. The food is good. It's doing great business. It's large. We got an outdoor garden opening. And of course, the bars aren't open yet, so we're doing really well in a couple of these Jersey locations, Ventanas and San Cubano as well up north, without the bars open and with the 50%. So I think when we do get to 75 or 100 and the bars open, I think we're going to have a really robust, midsummer till the end of the year.
You just led into my next question. In New Jersey, we're still mandated. You just mentioned it. No seating at the bar, 50% occupancy. Can these restaurants be profitable at 50% occupancy going forward?
Well, it all depends on on your lease. What your landlord's doing with you, how much you're going to be paying in rent, if there's any if they're cooperating with you. If you can only seat 50%, you can only do 50% of your business. Most leases are based on 100% occupancy, so you have to deal with that. And we also just take out, and I'm hoping that we get to 75 sometime mid-June, if not before. And I don't know about the bars. I don't know. I think the bars are going to be the last thing. And maybe the restaurant bars will be able to go to 25% before the bars, the nightclub and bars that you pack them in, So I'm hoping something like that comes. Again, you got to be crafty, and like we had a very good summer last year weather-wise, like an extraordinarily good one. So we had a lot of outdoor seating. It didn't rain a lot, and we were very lucky. I hope we get less lucky this year, but I don't think we will.
What modifications or what changes have you made in your business model over the past year, adapting to COVID and going forward from COVID?
Well, just like most restaurant people, we did we got rid of the menus. We did paperless menus. We had this, the screens up and the masks, and we spaced out the tables. We took earlier and later reservations. We did takeout and delivery. We did some promotional stuff. Some of those things are just good practices anyway, and they'll stay to a certain degree. And some of them are just going to fade away. I mean, eventually we won't be wearing masks, and you won't need the plexiglass walls up, and you won't need the seats so far apart. But everything's going to take a little bit of time. The vaccine has been, you can feel people going out now and eating. People are more comfortable, and with the weather and the vaccine together, I just think it's going to be a great summer as long as we stay the course. So we've made change of that hiring practices. We have ongoing ads running all the time. We have to work with employment services because there's just not enough people that are ready to go back to work. I mean, mostly waiters that are collecting unemployment and then stimulus checks, and they're not ready to come back. So when people do go to restaurants, I say this to the general public, because we had a situation over Easter where we're short staffed in the kitchen in one of my restaurants and the wait staff, and people were getting upset with the wait staff. Those are the ones that showed up to work, and they were working hard, and they're a little slower because other people didn't show up. So, you got to be careful of who you take it out on. So we're doing the best we can during these times and trying to, staff our restaurants. The other problem is all the restaurants are opening up at the same time. So everybody's trying to hire people.
You mentioned the good weather coming. I mean, we're in April. Hopefully May and June we'll be getting some nice sunshine out there. Do you have outdoor spaces in all your restaurants? Rumson, East Brunswick, Belmar, Seabright. You have outdoor areas for people to.
We have outdoor space in all of our locations except Rumson, Red Horse and Rumson, and I might be getting several tables. So I might get the approval to put some tables outside in the driveway there. I'm hoping I will. And that'll only last until the COVID is over, but I still think it'll help me out throughout the summer because I can't really put that many people inside. So I think that's going to get approved. And then we'll have outdoor seating in all of our restaurants. Some of the Ventana, San Cubano, Orchard Park, and Belmar and Seabright all have lots of outdoor seating. So that really helped us last summer because we had built in, we didn't have to go make something. They were already there. Well, last summer at Orchard Park and Belmar, we didn't operate, but so I think we're going to have a good summer.
You have plans of putting a outdoor deck in Rumson at some point?
Well, I want to put a deck built off the kitchen, almost like a chef's dining room. That'll have French door windows, so you'll be able to al fresco it in the summer and then close those windows up, on the chilly nights and in the winter. So it'll be year round. It's really an addition that's almost like a sunroom that you have to go through the kitchen to get in. It's built over a couple of parking spots right off the kitchen, and I think it'll add to the dining experience. It could be a private party room for 24, or it could be 4 separate tables, and so I'm hoping I get approved for that as well. So that'll take a few months to build. But we just finished the wine cellar downstairs today, and we got about 12, 16 seats down there and a little lounge. And we're very happy what's going on with Red Horse. We're very happy to be back in the building, and the response has been great, and our reviews have been tremendous. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed, right. over the past year, David, since we are a year past the beginning of this pandemic, do you think that you or any of the restaurateurs could have survived without the intervention of government funding?
No, I don't think
That
so.
is how that's been, I guess, the lifeblood, right, to keep things
Yeah,
going.
but there's no way we would have survived without the funding. I mean, maybe some people could have, I mean, but I know in New York we wouldn't have survived, and I think outside here too, I think we would have been tough. Some people, maybe in certain cases, we would have hurt us tremendously. We already been really hurt. I mean, you're talking about people losing 65-75% of their income for a year, personally, and also business wise. That PPP money, allowed us to stay open and not lose our whole staff. I mean, honestly, I worked harder during the pandemic than I usually do, and I worked pretty hard because we were fighting. The funny thing about the restaurant business is when you're really busy, you got to work hard, but when you're not busy, you got to work harder.
Let's say, you talked about the employees a little bit before, having trouble getting them, and I know everybody in the business is having that same problem. Do you feel that it's because of the unemployment that they don't want to come back, or do you still think the employees might be a little leery of coming back and interacting with customers when a lot of them haven't had the vaccine, either the employees or the customers?
I haven't heard that as much. I think that I think some people got real sour on the restaurant business and the industry. I know there's some chefs in New York City that got sidelined so bad that they're like, you know what, I'm going to sell real estate and I'm going to drive an Uber, because, the stress of running a restaurant or being a chef in New York City you make decent money, but at the end of the day, when you count hour per hour, the lifestyle is very difficult. So I think there was an opportunity to set back and reset your clocks on life. And then, by staying home, I know I did. I enjoyed my home. I cooked at home. I made videos, and there was even though there was the silver lining, it all was stop and smell the roses if you could, and realize what's important. And sometimes the rat race isn't what's important. So I think a lot of people looked at that. And I think there's certainly people collecting enough money or saved enough money from the unemployment that they can take the summer off. And then third, I think that some people are afraid to interact. I haven't heard that one as much, but I'm certainly in New York City more so than the suburbs.
Last June, when the restaurants in New Jersey were first getting ready to restart and open up again because they had been closed since mid-March, we put together a restaurant task force, which you were part of, and we shared ideas with other restaurateurs in the business and in the area. What, if anything, did you learn from those restaurateurs, and what were you able to share of your knowledge and experience with them?
Well, one of the things that's remarkable about the restaurant business is the people. Even though we compete with each other in a certain town or in a city, we work together really well when we have to do stuff together, whether it be a charity, a crisis, brainstorming ideas, forming task force, whatever it is. So, and you got some very creative minds in this business, and I think that we dug it out, man. We got knocked on our butt, and then we picked ourselves up, and we're gonna get across the finish line, most of us, and we do it together. We're helping our neighbors. We're feeding each other. We're picking each other's brains. So there's always been that hospitality, even with your competitors, because we're not really competing. We're competing, but we're also helping each other, because in the restaurant industry, competition is very good, especially for a neighborhood, because you build a neighborhood and it becomes a destination for dining. So, and also the better you train people, as people move around. So, for example, in Monmouth County years ago when I first opened, you didn't have as much talent to pull from, and nowadays a lot of people leaving the city. There's many good restaurants in Monmouth County, and so the better the restaurants, the better the workforce is that you can, and the restaurants continue to get better at all levels, and competition helps that.
We talked about the vaccines ramping up and more Americans getting vaccinated. And, hopefully by the third quarter of this year, we'll see maybe some signs of getting back to normal, and into 2022, with the help of God, we'll be back to normal. But what do you feel are the long-term effects on the restaurant industry that has been brought about by this coronavirus? Are there changes that are going to take place that are going to last going forward?
Well, I think that you're going to see a drop in people going into the restaurant business, which is going to hurt the cooking schools. I don't think people, listen, it's never been a great career. The restaurant business is a tough career, right? It can be great for some, and it could be good for many. But after what happened, I don't think parents are going to be very eager to spend a couple $100,000 to send their kids to a cooking school, knowing this could happen again or what happened. We just got kicked right in the shins. And so I think there's going to be some effect from that. And I'm hoping that there's a way to just generate some money for, but now our expenses for COVID went up for all the little stuff we had to buy. And I hope we're able to seat the way we used to seat with, especially in New York City, where the tables are very close to each other and people don't, demand that their seats are further apart because we can't make money. So, we're pretty good about it, but, there has to, and overbooking stopped a long time ago because of Yelp and Open Table and all that. So normally you have to live by the resident. You can't overbook too much. You get bad reviews because everybody's, but we live and die by reservations. If you don't show up, we lose the table. So we got to overbook a little bit to play it safe. So I think I would imagine in a couple of years we're going to be back to the way we used to do things, with 20% of what we did different sticking around, the things that are practical, sustainable, and that makes sense.
Well, the last question I have for you, David, then we'll wrap it up. We spent a year in the pandemic, all of us, the restaurant industry and the hospitality industry has really taken it on the chin. Probably out of all the industries in America, the hospitality industry has got hurt the most by this pandemic. But out of every trial, every challenge, every tribulation that comes along, there's usually a positive or positives that come out of it. What positives do you see that have come out of this pandemic?
Well, I'll give you one positive, and we're living it right now. It's a Zoom call.
It's a Zoom call.
Right? Because I didn't do any of these before. We started virtual cooking classes, the takeout business, how many people are willing to pay for good food, takeout and delivery. I think those are all positives. And I think that it's an appreciation from a customer standpoint of how hard the restaurant industry does work and has to work to stay successful. And and because I sell pots and pans in the stores, a lot of people started cooking at home, and I think that'll continue.
Well, David, thank you. Look, we appreciate you. We appreciate your hard work. We appreciate your restaurants, and I thank you for the time you've given us today. And I know Zoom appreciates that comment because their stock's gone through the roof. So
well, it's always good to see you, Richard. I appreciate that. Thanks for inviting me.
Have a great afternoon, okay? Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.